What's up, everybody? It is once again your doctor, Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I'm here in the X-Layer to help you get through yet another day with the X-Men statue withdrawal syndrome. Today, I will help you to quell your withdrawals by providing you a stormy offering. One of our favorite X-Men characters of all time, Aurora Monroe, as created by Bowen Designs, in her 90's Jim Lee white costume representation. It's a variant of the flying pose storm statue that was made of her in the classic costume, the sort of black costume that she first appeared in Giant Size X-Men #1. Bowen Designs was kind enough to provide us with this variant, which is the exact same pose, just with the white costume, the very sort of iconic white costume that most people will identify as being part of the 90's cartoon, which is how a lot of people became aware of the X-Men if they weren't already aware of them through the comics. This was obviously before the films, so I think this costume played a big role in sort of defining the pop cultural image of Storm. So it's super important, and it works really well in my 90's display. Some of you may or may not know that in the 90's, the two X-Men teams were introduced, the gold team and the blue team. I'm pretty sure she was part of the blue team and or the gold team. It's one of the two. I think it was the gold team, actually. And her team was followed through Uncanny X-Men, the title, whereas the other team, which I think was the gold team, I don't know, I'm totally blanking on that right now, but the other team led by Cyclops got a new book, which was the X-Men Volume 2 book, drawn by Jim Lee, written by Chris Claremont. And so Storm led the team in the Uncanny X-Men books, and that team included Jean Grey, Archangel, Colossus, and eventually Bishop was introduced. Iceman was also part of the team. So this was the time when, like, a lot of the X Factor members, the original 5 X-Men who had become X Factor for a pretty extended period of time, finally came back to the X-Men and became part of these new teams that became sort of like central to the stories, and then also kind of the starting point for the X-Men cartoon, which sort of didn't have this divided group into two teams, but kind of had an amalgamation of the two teams with sort of the key figures from both playing key roles in the X-Men team that was featured in the cartoon. So it was a super important time, and thus this is a super important costume, as I've said too many times already. And that sort of made her important enough for me to get her pretty early on in my collecting career, if one could call it a career. Maybe it should be called an obsession. Maybe it should be called a sickness. Obviously, I'm not going through any withdrawals because I've got plenty of statues, so I'm not really experiencing the sickness part of it. But since Bowen Designs has not announced a renewal with their contract with Marvel as of right now, which is like the end of March of 2014, I am starting to feel slightly ill. I can feel like feverish. I'm waking up screaming with night sweats. There are certainly symptoms that are indicators of some sort of great sickness that might be coming on if this situation doesn't get rectified at some point very soon. Hopefully it will, and we will get brand new statues on the pre-order horizon from Bowen Designs of X-Men. Of course, that's all I'm interested in. But until that happens, I'm going to, of course, be very happy with my very extensive statue collection of the X-Men, of which you've seen plenty of individual statues, and this is one of the last few that I'm featuring. So she is in my display for the, I'm gonna say it's the gold team, and I bought her probably she was probably my 6th or 7th statue. I actually got her from the local comic book shop that I used to frequent in Culver City, California, which is where I used to live. And I remember I went in there and she was there and she was beckoning me and I could not resist. The guys in there were very nice. They gave me a deal and I walked away with a beautiful statue that I have not looked back on. Of course, I did kind of screw her up a bit. I don't know if you can tell, but like here, like the costume wing is not connected to the hand, and this is actually the case with both hands, because at one point I was cleaning and I made a mistake and I put her in an unstable surface and she kind of fell over, and fortunately nothing happened besides those two little parts sort of separating. There's like these miniature chains that connected the costume to her hand, her wrists, but obviously it's not. It wasn't a crucial part of the sort of the structure of the statue. So the overall integrity of the statue, of the structure, was maintained. So the effect is still there. It's got a bit of a flaw to it, but it doesn't matter because I'm never going to get rid of her. Although she doesn't seem to be like a collector's favorite, like an X-Men statue collector's favorite on average, just given that you can see the prices on eBay are not that high for this statue. She, to me, is one of the great statues of Storm and one of the great statues I have, and I'm sure there's a lot of other collectors out there that feel the same way. So for me, I don't see myself ever getting rid of her. She's like critical to the 90's team and looks great in it, and so I love having her in it. She comes with a riser. There's like a riser, so let me put on my trusty gloves. I don't want to get my filthy human oils all over her and, you know, maybe eventually start to erode the beautiful paint job. But see, like, she comes in this base here, but then there's like this riser that's basically the same shape as the base. And this was produced in 2009, so 5 years ago. There were 1,500 of these made, and it was sculpted by Mark Newman, Dan Cope, and Randy Bowen. So I'm assuming somebody took somebody's original sculpture, which is probably Randy Bowen's, and enhanced it. Probably Mark Newman and this Dan Cope to sort of, sculpt out the new costume elements or whatnot. So I think the original costume version of this flying statue of Storm was actually the first one, and this one was sort of the enhanced version that came out later. The sort of the variant of that one. So there's that. The base, of course, is like the cloud, which is a very nice looking cloud. They actually took out the lightning bolts that were in the original statue, which is good because those things are annoying and they kind of, sometimes they fall out when I'm dusting and I can't find them. So I just wound up not even including them in the other statue. So it's good that they're not in this statue. And they put a lot more shading into the cloud, which looks nice. And then of course they had to sculpt on a lot of the costume that was not necessarily part of the original statue, because the original version of Storm has her basically in a bikini with a G-string, I guess. I don't know. It's like a very sort of sexualized version of her costume. And this one is obviously a lot more conservative. And I'm pretty sure it had a lot to do with the cartoon and the fact that, they couldn't be too overly sexual in the representation of the female characters in the cartoon, because it's just the way it was. So I understand why this costume sort of became more sort of conservative in its in its representation, which is fine because it's still very tight and it's still sexy. It's just not, the half-naked Storm that people were used to before that era. But it's a really elegant costume. They did a really nice job presenting it here. There's like a pearl white paint job that was used for it, which is nice. It's like it's not exactly white. It's kind of got like an enhanced quality to it, giving it a little bit more elegance, which is perfect because she is an elegant character. I always consider her somewhat elegant, somewhat regal. I mean, she was considered like a goddess in Africa when she was growing up because of her powers, and she was revered as such. But she kind of carries herself in that way, the character does, and kind of has that sort of that dimension of importance to her, and so that along with that comes elegance, right? So that is represented nicely in the paint job here, which is great. And then all the other costume elements are as they should be. The two X's on the top of her costume are there, and they look great. You've got the flying cape, which is signature Storm, which is done really nicely. And then of course you have the face and the hair, and they're just fantastic. Like either Mark Newman or Randy Bowen did a really nice job creating this look for Storm, which is, I think, what makes this just such a great statue, and why like it pretty much hasn't lost any of its sort of quality of value throughout these, now it's like 5 years, even longer, because the original version I think came out a couple years before then. I think this is going to be one of those timeless pieces that fans are always going to want or appreciate because it captures her really well. Like the look on her face is just fantastic. She looks like Storm. The Storm in the comics, the Dave Cockrum design is basically the face that we're looking at here. So it's just signature Storm. It's just, again, reflective of how good Bowen Designs is at capturing these characters in the way that us, the fans, the longtime fans, the comic book fans, want them captured, and why we're willing to dish out hundreds of dollars for these statues because they are the characters that we love. So thank you, Bowen Designs, for this particular statue. I'm really happy with it. I'll give her one last twirl there so you can enjoy all her white costume goodness, all the Storm white costume goodness. Some of you may have seen the recent Days of Future Past trailer that was released this week. I posted it on my blog if any of you are interested, if you haven't seen it. It's looking amazing. From what I hear, the original X-Men movie team that included Halle Berry as Storm is going to be featured as sort of like bookends to the film, like at the beginning and at the end probably. So, but I hear that there's enough of that we're going to be satisfied as fans. And in that trailer we saw quite a bit of Storm and the possibility that she could actually die in the movie, which I doubt, but it looks like there's going to be some pretty dramatic sort of scenes with the Halle Berry Storm character that are going to really sort of capture the overall sort of weight of the power that she holds, and make us the fans like super satisfied to finally have a Bryan Singer X-Men film that does a really good job at demonstrating the mutant powers on top of having like a really great story to follow and in-depth character development that really makes us connect with the characters and identify with them and make the story poignant to the point that the film becomes timeless, like X2 did. So we have quite a treat on the way with Storm as a part of it, and I'm highly looking forward to that. I cannot wait for that. As far as other Storm statues go, there aren't many coming out. There was a premium format figure made by Sideshow Collectibles in her classic black costume, and then they did like a white variant of that costume. So it's not this costume, but it's the original costume, but just in white, which actually looked really nice. And they only made 200 of them, and they put them on sale one day, like kind of out of the blue, and then they sold out really quickly. But that was actually one that I was hoping to get because it appealed to me. It looked really cool. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that one. I'm pretty sure Mark Newman actually sculpted that one as well. So, but beyond that, there aren't any other Storm statues coming out anytime soon. So there's this one. There's the variant of this one. There's the museum pose original costume version that I had converted into a modern statue, which you can see on my YouTube channel as well. And there's also the Punk Storm version, which is very nice. It looks great. Love it. One of my favorites. It's leading my 80s team, which is fantastic. And that's another great option. So that's Bowen Designs. Then there's, of course, the premium formats by Sideshow. And then Sideshow also did like a Women of Marvel 1/4 scale comic kit version of Storm in her punk look. But it's not that great of a statue. Personally, I don't love it. But it is out there, and it's not terrible. So if you're looking for just a variety of Storm statues, that's another option for you as well. Anyway, thank you so much for checking out my video of this beautiful statue of Storm in the white costume, the 80s version. I have plenty more stuff coming up. I'm gonna probably slow down as far as like posting on a weekly basis. I might go to bi-weekly. I might even go monthly, just because I'm super busy with the work that I do beyond my hobby in my actual life. So I hope you all will be patient with me, but I promise that there is definitely more stuff coming, and I will definitely finish at least cataloging all the statues that I have in my collection at some point. I know some of you want to see the Cable, the retro Cable statue, Cable on a Sentinel head. I haven't done that one yet. I was kind of waiting for that one as sort of like the last one, just because it's like a special statue, and I thought it would be a nice way to kind of finish off the collection. So that one will eventually come, and then I've got a lot of other stuff that I want to do, but I'm going to do it over time, and I really appreciate those of you that subscribe and keep up with stuff. You're not subscribing for nothing. I'll continue posting stuff, but it's definitely going to be slowing down because life is just getting really overwhelming beyond my wonderful little hobby. Anyway, thank you all for checking out the video. Thank you for checking out my blog. It's X-Men Statues of Future Past.blogspot.com. Thank you for checking out my YouTube channel, Dr. Remy LeBeau's X-Lair. If you haven't already subscribed, you have the option to. You also have the option not to. It's up to you. But if you subscribe, you're able to keep up on the updates that I post that will be somewhat irregularly patterned from this point forward. So if you want to keep up with those, subscribe. If not, I'll catch you around the web sometime. And as always, I like to say it's very important for you to put an X in the box because ain't nobody checking me. Take care and bye-bye.